Oh boy, I was just recording for the past 30 minutes, and while post-editing, I realized the whole video was scuffed and laggy. So here we are with take 2. Fuck me. Yo, what is up guys? I'm here, aka MaTeIRiA, and welcome to the long-awaited Jinwoo guide where I put everything related to Jinwoo into one concise video. I also thought this is a good opportunity to make this video because global is right around the corners and there will be a lot of new people who will start playing this game. So hey, if you're new to this channel, I basically upload every single day. Except my PC is crashing on me. So feel free to subscribe. So when it comes to Jinwoo stats, we have the basic stuff, HP, MP, attack. Then we have a stat which is not available in every game. We have the precision stat. There's like in short, precision is, there's a damage fluctuation in the game. So your damage ranges between 100 to 200, and the higher your precision stat, it is more likely for you to hit the 200 number on average. Then we have crit rate. Crit rate is capped to 50% when it comes to substats, and we have crit damage. Crit damage is not a linear thing. It has like a soft cap, so feel free to figure out where you want to stop when it comes to crit damage. Then we have cooldown reduction. Then there's defense penetration. Defense penetration is kind of linear. So for example, I have 9% here, so you have 9% defense penetration, gives you roughly 9% more damage, and damage increase is kind of similar to that, gives you additional damage output. Now when it comes to the stat points assignment for Jinwoo, I know it can be a little bit overwhelming when you first start off playing this game. You have strength, you have vitality, agility, intelligence, and perception, which is the precision I just mentioned earlier. Very simple and quick, just put everything into attack. The rest doesn't matter. You don't need additional defense and HP because that doesn't really matter too much. You need all the damage you can get in this game to clear content because you have 3 minutes to clear content, and in this time frame you have to defeat the boss and stuff like that. So the more damage you deal, the better it is for you. The agility, additional crit rate and crit damage doesn't really matter too much for you right now because crit rate is capped at 50% anyways from all the subsets, and the agility stat point is also straight aligned to the substats. So once you're capped at 50%, it doesn't do anything for you. You will get all your crit rate and crit damage from your gear anyways as substats, so don't waste any of your points there. And especially right now with the game, the crit damage is bugged that every crit damage you get from substats doesn't even apply in actual battle. It's just straight default 50% unless it's like effect from a skill or effect from a weapon or something like that, or a set bonus. So I also believe they will fix that once global hits. They will fix that as well. And also if you are below, like just 1 CP below the recommended power level for specific dungeons, your crit damage, even if you're capped at 50%, will just go straight down to 5% default crit rate. So make sure you're always above the recommended power level. I hope they will fix that one in the future as well. Intelligence is just there for the cooldown reduction, but it doesn't matter because you need way too many points to get just a little bit of cooldown reduction, so you don't want to put any points in there. And also with the precision, if you also are just 1 CP below the recommended power level, you just go back to default precision, which is 70% or 75%, I'm not 1%, let's say 75%. So this one, as of right now, you don't need to put any points there, just put everything into attack. Next up, we have artifacts. Artifacts are your gear and your accessories. So you have your gear on the left side, your accessories on the right side. They have different effects. So there are like a lot of different gear pieces and gear sets you can use for Jinwoo, but the one I personally recommend to you guys is use the toughness set on Jinwoo, because at the 4-piece set it gives you an additional crit rate of 8% and an additional crit damage of 32%. Also important to know is the set effects you get from these gear effects are not shown in your stat details. So you are capped at 50%, but your gear effects can overcap that. So with that set, you have actually 58% crit rate. And for example, crit damage is then at 212% because of the fact. Then on the other hand, you have the accessory side of things, which you can farm as well. I recommend for you to start off things because Jinwoo, you cannot swap to different characters. You only play him. Use a full set of the beast necklace, because the more often you crit, the more your attack increases with this effect, and it can stack up over time. You can in theory get up to 160% additional attack. It's quite good right now. Maybe the resistance set will be more viable later down the line, but for right now, toughness with beast set is the way to go for Jinwoo. So when it comes to the substats, important thing to note is that only the gear can have crit rate as a substat, and only the accessory can have crit damage as a substat. So you cannot get crit rate and crit damage on the same piece. It doesn't work. It's strictly like left side is crit rate, right side is crit damage. Now I will link in the comments down below and in the description, I will link to the SLA database where it's shown which piece can have what kind of substats and main stats. But for Jinwoo, it's pretty straightforward. So for the helmet, you want to have attack percentage. Then the chest piece and the glove is locked for the main stats. It's additional defense for the chest and additional attack for the gloves. And for the boots, you want to have crit damage. This can also be defense penetration, but you just want to have crit damage. And for the accessory, the necklace and the earrings are also fixed. For the first ring, it varies. It can have every kind of elemental damage equipment increase. You have water damage, dark, light, wind, fire, and so on and so forth. And the second ring, you want to have attack percentage for Jinwoo. Now there are also blessing stones in the game. There are 4 slots in total. The first one you unlock at level 40. Just play the main story mode. You will get the daily quest completion by default, which is basically giving you a second life in case you die. And over time, with collecting powder by doing your story mode and power of destruction and stuff like that, you will get additional powder to craft blessing stones. And as I said, there are 4 slots in total. The first one you unlock at level 40, second at level 50, level 60, and level 70 you unlock the 4th slot. Now when it comes to Jinwoo's skills, he has like a lot of different skills, but we put it concise. So first and foremost, I wanted to mention here, which is important, you can upgrade all your equipment by using scrolls to increase the damage output of the skills. So when it comes to the ultimate skill, Jinwoo has 2 ultimate skills. The first one you have is Darkness Obliteration, and the second one you will unlock is the Truth Mutilate skill. So here's important to know, don't put any scrolls into the Darkness Obliteration, because once you do the job change to the Monarch of Shadows, you will unlock Mutilate, which is just straight up a stronger, has just higher multipliers. So you want to put your scrolls into this one and just dip the Obliteration one. Then you have your QTE skills you kind of want to upgrade. And then when it comes to the basic skills, I don't want to cover everything, because all these stuff slots here you see in the bottom here, which have different effects like Whirlwind Rush, Flame Slash and stuff like that, you unlock by crafting skills. So don't want to cover everything right now, because this will take like it's a whole different video just for that one. Let me know in the comments down below if I should cover that one in a separate video. But the important things to know is there are like different effects. So for example, the Crushing Blow has break. There's like a break mechanic in the game. So there are certain bosses in the game which have break gauges. It's like a yellow bar below the life. And if you completely destroy the break bar, you get the boss into a break state, the stagger mode, where you deal additional damage. So there are skills for Jinwoo who have break effects, so you want to use them. And the ones you start off with is the Multi-Strike and the Death Stance. You get them automatically by playing the game. Those are probably the 2 best breaking skills in the game right now, so use them. They have different elements and stuff like that. For utility, probably the best utility skill in the game is the Command's Touch. It has different effects depending on what skill runes you unlocked so far, but for example the Assumption is probably the strongest one, because this one has a high damage multiplier and it recovers your mana when you use it, because in this game you're also sometimes in a clinch where you run out of mana and you cannot use the skills. This one helps you to recover some of your mana back, so you don't run out of mana, so you can keep spamming your skills, and it also recovers your power gauge. And to make it simple, power gauge is just something you fill up over time, and once it reaches 100% you can cast your ultimate skill. So power gauge is just for your ultimate skill. There are also like some utility skills, for example Vital Strike, which when you use it, it increases your attack by 7% for 12 seconds, or for example Cutting Rush, which increases your crit damage by 20% for 12 seconds. There's like some utility and so on for this game, but just in general there's like utility, there's like break skills, and then you have like damaging skills. Now when it comes to Jinwoo's weapons, basically every SSR weapon in this game is good, except for the Fire Club, is like probably the worst one. I'm not gonna lie, it's not even worth it, don't pull it, but in general all SSR weapons are good and good to use. I probably recommend you get the Katana first, the Demonic Pumpflower Sword, because it has like a crit damage buff effect. It's a really good utility weapon for Jinwoo in general. And that's probably also one of the only few weapons I recommend to get at least one dupe, because once you get it at one dupe, it actually increases your damage even further. You increases your attack, your crit rate, and your crit damage, which can be stacked up. So this one you want to dupe once. And the Grimoire is a fantastic water weapon you want to use. Now the Demon King's Longsword is also a good wind weapon, which is kind of in the middle ground right now when it comes to his weapons. The damage output is not as great as other weapons right now, but it will now get buffed with the global version. So we will check it out again once the buff arrives for this weapon. Then the Huntsman Shotgun Light Weapon is the only weapon for Jinwoo in the game right now which has a break effect, which I just mentioned earlier. There are some enemies who have break edges, and it's actually very, very fantastic with breaking break bars in this game right now. Then the Scythe, the Shadow Scythe, is actually a free-to-play weapon. Just by doing the challenges, you get actually 2 copies of this weapon from completing challenge 9 and from challenge 11. You get 2 dupes, and once you have it at Ascension 1, once you're below 70% HP, you get an additional 25% of crit rate. This one has high damage output, high damage output. Personally, one of the best weapons in my opinion in the game. And it's also very free-to-play friendly since you get 2 copies of it, and SH1 is perfectly fine with this weapon. Then we have some SR weapons. So the Orb of Avarice is a fire weapon. It's the best fire weapon in the game, and it's not even an SSR one. It's a purple weapon, SR weapon. Very, very strong weapon. If you have it, you can use it. Best fire weapon as of right now. Then we have the West Wind. It's a wind weapon, which is currently the hardest hitting weapon in the game for Jinwoo right now, but this one will be nerfed for global. They already mentioned it, but I wasn't too surprised that they will nerf Westwind. But we will see after the nerf how strong Westwind actually is still. Is it still worth using it or not? But as of right now, very good weapon. And then, last but not least, we have the Radiros family longbow, which is a light bow, which has ranged abilities. Also very good DPS weapon for Jinwoo. These 3 SR weapons are the best SR weapons for Jinwoo right now, and also some of them are stronger than straight off some of the SSR weapons in the game. Also important thing to note is that there are like little icons when it comes to skills and weapons. So for example, if you see the arrow which points down, that means you can charge your attack. So you can hold down the button to maximize your damage output, for example. So if you see this icon, it means you can just charge an attack or skill. And then there's a different one which shows you a sword with a circle around it. That means it has a counter mechanic. So if you time it correctly, you get a counter mechanic off, which deals additional damage or has additional effects. And then you can also use your scrolls to upgrade your weapon skills to deal additional damage. And you have basic attack, core attack, and your weapon skill. So basic attack is just pressing your basic attack, spamming your attack button. And once the meter fills up completely, it's full, your basic attack switches to your core attack, which then deals increased damage with that effect. Sometimes it has an additional effect, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just to let you know the difference between a basic attack and a core attack. And then your weapon skill is just something you can use every 25 seconds. And if you get it up to Ascension 4, it gets cut down to 20 seconds, stuff like that. There are ways to cut your cooldowns with certain mechanics in this game, but this is how these weapons are laid out. When it comes to your shadows, at some point you will unlock your shadow army by playing the story mode. You start off with Igris, and every other one is locked. You have the base form of Igris, and to unlock your shadows, you need these traces of shadows, and you need 100 shadows of these to unlock a new shadow. So my personal recommendation is, once you have Igris, you start off with Igris, and you have different, and we get Tusk with the global server which arrives. You want to have Blade next, and after Blade you want to get Tank, because these shadows have actual leader skills. For example, for Igris, all team members' critical hit rate increases by 6%, and Blade increases the attack by 3% of your party, and Tank does defense. By Tank is not really, it's not important that he increases the defense, but the important thing is this one skill of him, the Tank Press, which has a little bit of utility because it can stun enemies, which can help out in battles. If you want to complete your Pokédex or not, it solely depends on you, what you want to focus on. But if you plan on upgrading certain shadows to advance the abilities and stuff, I would recommend working on Igris, because the higher you upgrade Igris, you can also level up his Shadow Authority, which then increases the crit rate effect, for example, to 7%. And this is also important because there's some units in the game that do not scale off attack, for example. They scale off HP, they scale off defense, stuff like that. and crit rate is just an universal buff which works on every single character in the game. Next up we have the fusion window, which I mentioned before. You can craft skills and blessing stones. So here you need, for the skills, you need rune fragments. Once you have 100, you can just fuse them. Don't worry, there's no use then just crafting your skills. And then you can look like there's like different skills you can unlock by just fusing or crafting these skills, right? And you have a 2% chance of getting a purple one and a 98% chance of getting a blue one. But there's a different way to get, you think like 2% is very low, right? Yeah, it's super low. But there's a different way. So once you have like dupes of certain skills, you can go to the tab, one tab below, then you put in 3 of your blue skill stones, for example, and then you have a higher chance of actually obtaining a purple one. Then you see, for example, here, super successful, I have now a 39% chance of getting a purple one. And for the blessing stones, it's quite similar, but here you need the powder. Once you have 50 powder, you can craft your blessing stones. You can get purple one here, 2% chance, same as with the skill runes. And here's the same thing. You can put 3 blessing stones here, and then you can fuse them, and then you have a higher chance of getting a purple one or a new one. Now, if we look at the window when you're actually going into battle, for example, so you have Jinwoo on the left, you have his weapons here, so you can equip up to 2 weapons. Then you have your 3 support characters here, and then you have your shadows on the right. So your hunters do not actively participate in battle. They have like the support skill you can trigger once every 25 seconds, which give you a little bit of utility during the battle. And here you can see like only the leader skill from the shadow supply. So if you click here on Shadow Authority, it says all team members critical hit rate increased by 6%. So if you want to have additional like attack, you want to put in Blades as your leader and then Icarus here. But if you want to have Icarus as a leader, you want to have crit rate, you put him in the first slot and the other 2 in the second and third slot. And then also important to know is here, so you have the boss down below, and then you see, for example, this here, right? This means this icon here, that octagon thingy here, means the boss possesses a breakage. This is the thing I mentioned earlier. So you have to remove the breakage of the boss so you can get them into stagger, deal additional damage. And then depending on what enemies you fight, you want to use different characters. Also depends on the element. So this one is element neutral. So for example, here if you look at Emma, you can click on Emma and she has support skill. So for the hunters, they have support and QTE skill, but it's very simple. So support skill is exclusively for Jinwoo when you use Jinwoo, and QTE skills are exclusively when you use hunters when you tag them out. So here you can see, for example, Emma has a medium break effect. So this skill helps you out in this certain fight to get rid of the break gauge of the boss. And then if you tap here, you can actually, depending on what stage you're fighting, you can switch your skills. You can click them, change something here, change for a different skill. Let's say I click on this one, changes here, and then you have your blessing stones here, which you then can also change depending on what you want to use. Also, I forgot if I mentioned it earlier, but I also have a separate blessing stone tier list up on my channel, so check that one out. It's still up to date. If you want to know how good or which blessing stone is useful and which one you want to avoid, just watch this video. Last but not least, there's the Armory, where you actually don't have to put that much attention into it. Like when you get SSR weapons, they will put automatically into the Armory. You have to unlock these slots by using either, if you click on enhance, you need these battle of time, mark of time materials to unlock them. But basically your SSR weapons are equipped to that, which further increase your combat power, to further increase your damage in combat and stuff like that. You don't really have to pay that much attention into it. And also you can upgrade those by, if you have enough mark of times, you can upgrade them, which further increases your combat power. But these ones, you get so full of them, it takes so much time to get them, so this is not even worth mentioning. This one, if you have enough, just upgrade your weapons in the Armory just to give you additional combat power. Now this sums up everything you need to know about Sung Jinwoo. I hope this one helps you out with your global journey. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like and a comment down below. It helps out the algorithm. And thanks guys for watching. See you with the next one. Deuces.